Welcome to Darkness in the Night. Tonight, step aboard the train without shadows. A journey that begins at Hanoi Station on the 29th night of Tet. Turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and if you hear someone whispering right behind you, don't turn around too quickly. The last days of the year in Hanoi were bitterly cold. Fog rolled down over the tracks, each breath puffing out white like smoke. The station speakers blared loudly, announcing the night train's departure. Crowds pushed and shoved, bags in hand, all rushing to make it home before New Year's Eve. Among them was Hung, a man in his 30s, tall and lean, face darkened by years of labor. He clutched a worn fabric bag, inside holding every coin he had saved from years of working in Hanoi. This trip home, he planned to marry Lan, the woman who had waited faithfully for him for 4 years. Hung exhaled and muttered to himself, "Once I get home, this Tet, I must marry her. Every hardship I endured was for this." The train screeched as its iron wheels ground against the rails. A long engine belched smoke, pale yellow lights flickering in the mist. People crammed aboard, but as Hung stepped into car number 7, he froze. Outside, laughter and chatter filled the air. Inside this car, it was strange. Just a handful of figures scattered about, sitting stiffly in silence. No one spoke. They sat upright, eyes wide, staring into the pitch-dark window. The ceiling lights flickered as if ready to die. A chill breeze slithered through the cracks, making Hung shiver. He whispered, "Why so quiet? It's Tet. People should be talking. Why is everyone silent?" He slid into his seat, pulling his coat tighter. His heart pounded, a sense of dread growing. Then a soft voice came from across the aisle. "Are you heading to Vinh?" Hung jolted. Before him sat a young woman, about 20, in a pale blue ao dye. Her hair flowed long, her skin unnaturally pale. Her black eyes shimmered with a sorrowful depth. Yeah, I'm going to Vinh." "Then Queen Lu, you're heading home too?" She nodded gently. "Yes, I'm going home." Her voice was as light as the wind, yet it chilled him to the bone. Hung forced a smile. "What's your name?" "Lin." As the name left her lips, the lights flickered again. A cold draft swept through the car, rattling the curtains violently. Hung clutched his money bag tightly, trying to act calm. "You, studying or working here?" "I've been away from home for a long time. Now, I finally get to return." Her gaze dropped to her hands, long pale fingers, almost bloodless. The train shuddered, swaying as it plunged into a pitch-black tunnel. The lights blinked out, darkness swallowed everything, metal groaned, the wind shrieked like voices from another world. In that instant, Hung turned toward the window. His reflection stared back from the glass. But across from him, where Lin sat, there was nothing. He blinked rapidly, no trace of her reflection. His chest tightened, cold sweat trickled down his neck despite the winter chill. He swallowed hard, whispering, No way." Suddenly, a whisper brushed against his ear. "Don't stare too long, they don't like being watched." Hung spun around. Behind him, an old woman with white hair sat clutching prayer beads. Her lips trembled, voice quivering. Before he could ask, Lin's icy hand gripped his tightly. "Don't be afraid, I only want to help you get home." Her words dragged, echoing as though from far away. The train car was deathly still. The other passengers sat motionless, eyes wide open, hollow like wooden dolls. Hung's heart pounded wildly. He no longer knew if he was aboard a train heading home, or if he had already crossed into another world. Lin's hand was cold as stone. The chill seeped deep into Hung's skin, numbing him, making him shiver. He yanked hard to free himself, but her grip would not let go. Let me go." Lin smiled faintly, a fragile, hollow smile, with no trace of warmth. "It's so cold here, just hold my hand a little. You won't be so afraid?" Hung froze in place. His breath came fast, his heart pounding like war drums. Around him, the grinding wheels of the train screeched louder, harsher, echoing endlessly in the tunnel. In the darkness, the other passengers slowly turned their heads toward him. Their eyes were blank, empty, drilling into him with lifeless stares. Hung cried out, Who are you? Why are you all staring at me?" No reply, only the howl of the tunnel wind, shrill and merciless. Lin whispered again, "Don't shout, no one here can hear you. It's just you and me." Sweat trickled down his temple. He clutched the money bag against his chest, voice trembling. I have to get home. My fiancé is waiting. I can't be stuck here." "Home," Lin echoed, her voice drifting, hollow. "I'm going home too, but no one waits for me anymore." The words lodged in Hung's throat. There was sorrow in her voice, deep, suffocating sorrow that no living soul should carry. Suddenly, the train jolted violently. From the back of the car came the high-pitched laughter of a child. Sharp, piercing, digging into his ears. Hung whipped his head around. A boy of 7 or 8 sat crouched, his wide eyes black pits without whites. He grinned, his mouth splitting too wide, revealing rows of jagged, needle-like teeth. "Uncle, come eat with us." The child's voice was soft and sweet, yet it echoed like a call from a bottomless well. Hung's face drained of color. His body shook uncontrollably. He tried to run, but his legs were stiff, heavy, as if nailed to the floor. Lin stood, still holding his hand tight. "Don't be afraid, follow me, only I can take you home." Hung's voice cracked. What are you, human, or ghost?" She tilted her head, her eyes glimmering with something unnatural. "Human or ghost, does it matter? The only thing that matters is, I won't hurt you." The train rattled violently, lights flickering back on, but the glow was dim, blood red like furnace fire. Overhead, wires spat sparks. In that flash, Hung saw the passengers change. Their faces turned bluish-purple, lips blackened. Around their necks were deep gashes like strangling wires. Some dripped blood from their mouths. Others' chests caved in. All of them slowly turned their heads to stare at him. Hung screamed, "No, it's not real, this can't be real." But his scream vanished into the ghastly noise, the train's whistle howling long and low, like a chorus of the dead wailing in grief. Behind him, the old woman with the prayer beads murmured shakily, "My son, pray for yourself, only then can you escape." Hung tried to mutter the prayers he remembered as a child, but his lips moved without sound. Lin tugged his arm, pulling him toward the door that connected to the next car. "Come with me, quickly." He struggled. "No, I'm not going, let me go." But her grip was iron chains. The door creaked open, an icy wind swept in. Beyond, dim light revealed a group seated around a long wooden table. They laughed softly, chatting, yet on their plates, everything was gray, lifeless, without scent. One man offered a bowl of rice to Hung. "Come, eat, and you'll get to go home." Hung trembled, peering inside. It wasn't rice, only ashes, mixed with bits of bone. The black-eyed child screeched with laughter. "Eat, uncle, eat, and stay with us." Hung stumbled back, crashing against the wall. He shouted, "I won't eat, I just want to go home, take me back to Vin Station." His scream split the air. At that moment, the train lurched as if colliding with something massive. The car shook violently. Then everything went black. Hung toppled onto the freezing floor. Ellipsis. When his eyes opened, he was back in his seat. The car was empty. No Lin, no old woman, no child, no one. Only the loudspeaker outside echoed in. Vin Station, arriving at Vin Station. Through the window, dawn broke faintly. Hung glanced at his watch. Just 3 o'clock. Time itself seemed torn apart. He sprang up, clutching his bag tight. Still there, still intact. Stumbling down to the platform, his legs trembled beneath him. Morning light spread across the station. Yet inside, he felt as if he had just returned from the land of the dead. The sky over Vin was still thick with fog. At 3 in the morning, the station yard lay deserted. Only a few figures huddled on stone benches. Hung stepped down from the train. his legs trembling, weak as if drained of strength. He rubbed his eyes, whispering to himself, Must be a dream. Just exhaustion, hallucinations. There are no such things as ghosts. But when he glanced back at the row of train cars, the windows were pitch black, empty. The long train stretched endlessly, silent as a giant serpent lying dead. At the station's entrance, a motorbike driver sat with arms folded, yawning. When he spotted Hung stumbling forward, he called out, "Hey there, where you headed?" Hung steadied his voice. Queen Lu, please take me. I need to get home quickly." The driver checked his watch, shook his head. "It's too early. The highway's empty at this hour." "But, well, it's Tet. I'll take you. Hop on." Hung breathed out in relief and climbed onto the back. The engine sputtered, then roared, carrying them away as the station faded into darkness. The night wind lashed his face. Biting cold, Hung clutched his bag of money tight, closing his eyes to block out the horrors he had just endured. Yet the more he shut them, the more the pale faces, lifeless eyes, the child's eerie laughter, the icy grip returned again and again. He muttered under his breath, trying to convince himself. Not real, can't be real. Just a dream, only a dream. The driver's voice drifted back through the rushing wind. "Heading home this early. Your family must be happy. Where's your village?" "Queen Lu, over 100 kilometers from here." "Still far, huh?" "Far, yes, but maybe that's a blessing. People say this station's haunted. White shadows standing by the rails at night, calling out to travelers." At that, Hung shivered, saying nothing. The driver gave a faint laugh. "Probably just stories to scare kids. But I've driven nights for years. Sometimes, I've seen strange things. Trains rolling into the station with whole cars empty. Doors locked tight, no sound at all. Gives you chills just looking." Hung's blood froze. He dared not answer. The highway stretched long and lonely. Dark fields sprawling on both sides. From time to time, a lone streetlight glowed faintly, briefly revealing Hung's pale, vacant face. Halfway, the motorbike stopped at a roadside tea shack. The driver cut the engine. "Let's rest a bit, have some hot tea." Hung nodded and climbed down. The shack was shabby, lit only by a flickering oil lamp. An old woman with cloudy eyes poured a cup of thick, dark tea. "Traveling at night, dangerous. Drink to warm yourself." Her frail, trembling hand slid the cup toward him. Hung lifted it to his lips. The taste was bitter, acrid, like ashes. He pulled away quickly, nearly spilling it. He stammered. What kind of tea is this?" The woman gave no answer. She only stared, lips curving into a wilted smile. From the corner of her eye, a tear slid slowly down her wrinkled cheek. Hung turned away quickly. Outside, the wind howled against the tin roof, echoing like cries from afar. The driver strapped down the luggage, calling out, "Come on, we'll never reach by daylight if we don't go." Hung climbed back on, clutching his bag tight. The bike roared into the night. The farther they went, the fewer houses appeared. Tall reeds whispered along the roadside. Moonlight bathed the land, stretching tree shadows into twisted shapes. Then suddenly, Hung glimpsed a pale blue Audi on the roadside. A young woman stood motionless, hair whipping in the wind, her face turned toward the bike. Hung clutched the driver's shoulder in panic. "Did you see that? Someone's there." The driver glanced back, puzzled. "Where? I don't see anyone." As they sped past, Hung looked again. The figure was gone. He hissed under his breath, trembling. No, it can't be." For the rest of the ride, Hung sat in silence, sweat dripping cold down his back. In his head, a familiar whisper lingered. "Don't be afraid, I just want to take you home." It was Lin's voice, clear as day. The motorbike sped down the highway, the wind slicing sharp across Hung's face. He clutched his bag of money tight, his mind spinning in chaos. The engine roared low and rough, blending with the night wind, but beneath it, Hung began to hear something else, the screeching grind of metal wheels on rails. The same sound he'd heard when the train plunged into the tunnel. Hung's eyes widened. This was the highway, straight and empty. Nothing but rice fields and clusters of bamboo on either side. No railway tracks, no train, yet the grinding grew louder. Closer. He muttered under his breath. No, it can't be, it followed me here. The driver glanced back, shouting over the wind. What did you say? And nothing, sir. Hung lowered his head, his teeth chattering uncontrollably. Moments later, the bike jolted violently, the front wheel plunging into a deep pothole. They swerved, nearly toppling. The driver cursed. Damn it, too dark to see a thing. The bike stopped on a stretch swallowed in darkness. A broken streetlight hung useless above, insects buzzing in the silence. Hung lifted his gaze and nearly screamed. At the roadside, beneath an ancient kapok tree, stood a young woman in a pale blue dye. Her long hair veiled half her face, her skin pale as candle wax in the moonlight. Her hand rose slowly, beckoning. And then, carried on the wind, came the faintest whisper. Come to me? Hung shouted, clutching the driver's back. Go now. Startled, the driver gunned the engine, but the bike refused to move. The motor howled, the rear wheel spun, but it was as though invisible hands gripped the frame tight. Sweat broke across the driver's brow. His voice quivered. Strange, so strange, why won't it move? Hung's eyes darted wildly. Then, in the distance, across the fields, he saw them, train cars, hazy and glowing faintly yellow. A whistle shrieked long and low. Wheels screeched as the ghostly train rolled past, sliding along the roadside with no tracks beneath it. Through the windows, faces turned outward, blank faces, dead eyes glowing with a cold, empty light. Hung's scream tore through the night. His body shook uncontrollably. The girl in the blue dye stepped slowly into the middle of the road. Her face showed now, lips purple, the corners of her mouth stained with dried blood. Yet her eyes, they were heavy with sorrow. Go home, quickly, before it's too late. Her voice broke, fragments scattered by the wind. Suddenly, the motorbike lurched forward, freed as if from a rope's grip. It shot down the road, leaving the kapok tree behind. Hung twisted around. Nothing. No girl. No train. Only the looming shadow of the old tree in the mist. He sat frozen, clutching the bag to his chest, heart hammering like a drum. In his ears, her words still echoed. Go home, quickly, before it's too late. Ellipsis. Near 5 o'clock, the bike finally stopped at the entrance of Queen Lu village. Roosters crowed faintly. Oil lamps flickered in scattered houses. Hung staggered off, his legs weak. He pressed his hands together, voice trembling. Thank you, sir, I'm just grateful I made it back. The driver gave a silent nod, then revved his bike and disappeared into the dawn. Hung stood at the village gate, inhaling deeply. The air of Tet wrapped around him, the scent of straw smoke, the faint aroma of boiling bon chung. His eyes welled with tears. But behind him, the cold wind hissed through the fields. Within it, a soft whisper carried. I brought you home. Hung spun around. Only the empty road stretched back, mist shimmering faintly. He swallowed hard, clutching his bag tighter, and hurried into the village. The eastern sky was just beginning to glow. The red sun slowly rose above the village bamboo hedge, casting its light across the dirt path still speckled with dew. Hung dragged his weary steps toward the home he had longed for. After years away, his heart pounded with both joy and a tightening ache. From afar came the sound of barking dogs, the swish of a broom sweeping the yard, the smell of wood smoke mingling with the morning mist. Tet in the countryside, every memory surged back at once. A woman's voice called out from the alley, trembling with emotion. Hung, is that you? He froze. That voice, so familiar it nearly brought him to his knees. Lan, the woman who had waited all these years, stood at the alley's end. Her hair was neatly tied, a brown sweater wrapping her small frame. Her eyes were red, her hand shaking as she held the broom. Hung dropped his bag and rushed forward, wrapping her in his arms. Lan, I'm home, truly home at last. Lan sobbed, burying her face in his shoulder. My God, I thought you wouldn't make it back. I was so afraid. Hung. Hurried footsteps came from the house. His frail mother emerged, her clouded eyes glistening with tears. My son, my boy, oh heavens. You've finally come home. Hung collapsed to his knees, clinging to her legs, tears streaming down. Your unfilial son kept you waiting, but I'm back now. Mother. The yard overflowed with reunion, laughter and sobs mingling in the warmth of the Tet morning. But as Hung stepped inside the gate, a shiver ran down his spine. Out by the old areca tree, he thought he glimpsed a faint figure in a blue ao dai. Long hair flowing, standing utterly still. He blinked hard. The corner of the yard was empty. Nothing but mist. Hung bent quickly to pick up his bag, hiding the tremor in his hands. Lan clasped him tightly, her voice bright and full of relief. Come inside, love, I've been waiting all year for this moment. Inside the old tiled house, the smell of dong leaves and boiling pork filled the air. The warmth of Tet wrapped around him. Children scampered about, shouting with glee. Uncle Hung's home, Uncle Hung's home. He forced a smile, patting their heads, though behind his eyes lingered a shadow of dread. Seated before the steaming bowl of rice porridge, he stared in silence. The rising steam twisted strangely, shaping itself like a small pale hand, reaching toward him. A whisper floated faintly at his ear. Don't forget me. Hung's face drained of color. The chopstick slipped from his hand. His body went cold. Lan touched his arm, alarmed. What's wrong? Your skin is freezing. He forced a weak smile, waving it off. No, nothing. I'm just tired from the night train. But deep within, unease gnawed at him, for somehow, he felt the journey on that train was not over yet. It was noon on New Year's Eve. After the family reunion meal, everyone busied themselves, cleaning the altar, preparing dong leaves for Bon Chung. Laughter and chatter filled the village alleys. Hung sat leaning back on the bamboo bed in the front porch. Exhaustion from the long journey weighed on him, his eyelids growing heavy. The moment he dozed off, he found himself once more inside a familiar train car. Empty, silent, the dim yellow lights flickered weakly, buzzing as though ready to die. From beneath came the screeching grind of steel on steel. He jolted upright, eyes darting, and there she was, Lin, the girl in the blue ao dai, sitting motionless, her face pale as chalk, her lips moving faintly. Why did you leave me behind? Hung screamed, struggling, but his body was pinned tight to the seat. You made it home, but I'm still trapped in the dark. Her voice cracked, dry and brittle, like wind through a stone crevice. I'm so cold. Suddenly, giggles echoed all around, high-pitched, gleeful, and horrifying. A child crawled across the seats, eyes black as voids, mouth gaping wide. Figures staggered toward him, faces purple, eyes rolled white. They whispered, stay with us, don't go back. Hung fought desperately, his voice breaking. No, I have to go back. I have to go home. Lin raised her icy hand, pressing it to his forehead. Tears welled in her eyes. Remember, the tunnel, that's where we remain. The train shuddered violently. The lights blinked out. A thick, suffocating darkness swallowed everything. Ellipsis. Hung, wake up, boy, what nonsense are you screaming about? His mother's voice yanked him awake. He shot up, drenched in sweat, heart racing wildly. Before him lay only the bright porch of his home, roosters crowing faintly in the yard. His mother stood, hands on her hips, shaking her head. Sleeping a little while and yelling like that, people will think you're possessed. Lan rushed out from the back room, clutching his hand in worry. What did you dream of? Your face is white as a sheet. Hung avoided her gaze, only shaking his head. No, it's nothing, just tired. That's all. But in his chest, the dream still pulsed real and raw. Lin's words lingered. Asterisk, The tunnel, that's where we remain. He swallowed hard, sitting frozen. Inside him, a dread grew, one he could never brush away. New Year's Eve night, the whole village buzzed with the crackle of electric firecrackers, laughter, and the beat of lion dance drums echoing from the alley. On the family altar, incense spiraled upward, green bon chung stacked neatly, the 5-fruit tray overflowing. Warmth filled the air as everyone waited for the sacred moment. Hung sat on the porch, watching the kitchen fire flicker. Lan poured him a cup of hot tea, her voice soft. "You're home now. This year we'll be safe. No more worries." He forced a smile, squeezing her hand, but inside, the unease grew heavier. Firecrackers popped everywhere. The clock crept toward midnight. The family gathered close, waiting for the countdown. Then a gust of wind swept across the yard, making the oil lamp tremble. The door creaked open. Hung shuddered. Through the drifting mist, a girl appeared. Her blue-eyed eyes shimmered faintly, her long hair falling over her shoulders. She stood by the old areca tree, eyes vast with sorrow. "Listen to me, the tunnel, don't let them be forgotten." Hung froze, his lips trembling. Why do you keep following me? There's nothing I can do." She stepped closer, her footsteps scraping softly on the brick floor. With each step, her shape blurred, dissolving into the night mist. "You're the one who survived, you must remember, or we'll be trapped forever." Suddenly a shout broke the spell. Hung, what are you doing out there?" He spun around. Lan and his mother stood in the doorway, eyes full of worry. When he turned back to the areca tree, the yard was empty, only moonlight shimmering on the damp ground. Hung trembled, backing toward his family. He bit his lip, too afraid to speak. That night, firecrackers roared and villagers cheered in the new year. Only Hung felt the cold wind carrying a faint voice. "I'm still on that train." Dawn of the first day. Roosters crowed across the village. The road teemed with Tet spirit. Children in new clothes ran and played. Adults bustled about exchanging greetings. Hung sat on the porch, staring at the incense curling on the ancestral altar. Lin's words from the night before echoed endlessly. "The tunnel, don't let them be forgotten." Lan set a cup of tea on the bamboo bed. "Why are you sitting there lost in thought? It's New Year's Day, don't look so gloomy." He managed a weak smile, taking her hand. "It's nothing, love, just a little tired." But inside, a storm raged. He needed to know the truth. He needed to learn about that tunnel. That afternoon, Hung went to visit Uncle Kwong, a 70-year-old man known for remembering every story of the village. The old man sat sipping his first drink of the year. Seeing Hung, he waved cheerfully. "Well now, Hung, long time no see. Come, have a glass with me." Hung sat down, the strong liquor stinging his nose. Clearing his throat, he asked carefully, "Uncle Kwong, back near Vin Station, was there ever a train accident?" Uncle Kwong paused, his eyes dimming. He set the glass down and sighed. "Yes, there was. 10 years ago now. More than a dozen lives lost right there in that tunnel. Mostly young people, there was even a girl. Barely 20. Hung held his breath, his chest tightening. "Do you remember what caused it?" The old man clicked his tongue, staring off into the distance. "They said the brakes failed. The train barreled straight into the tunnel. Flames roaring. Few survived. For a while, villagers built a small shrine at the tunnel's mouth. Travelers would stop to light incense. But over time, people forgot. The offerings grew sparse." His voice dropped lower. "They say late at night, you can see figures by the rails. Some even hear crying, voices calling names in the wind. Folks don't talk about it loudly." Hung swallowed hard, gripping his shirt, his heart hammered. Lin's face burned in his mind, her voice repeating, "I'm still on that train." Uncle Kwong glanced at him, speaking softly. "Why are you asking about this? Did you dream something strange?" Hung shook his head quickly, hiding his fear. "No, Uncle, just heard rumors. That's all." But as he left Uncle Kwang's house, his legs trembled. Deep inside, he knew for certain Lin had been one of the dead from that night, and she had chosen him to deliver her message. The night of the first day, the village lay in silence, houses dark, broken only by the barking of distant dogs and the hollow moan of wind threading through the bamboo groves. Hung tossed restlessly on the creaking bamboo bed. Beside him, Lan slept soundly, her breathing steady, her hair spilling across the pillow. He closed his eyes, but his mind churned with Uncle Kwang's words. When sleep finally came, he found himself standing at the mouth of a pitch-black tunnel. No train, no light, only a cold stone arch, mist seeping out like the breath of some monstrous beast. He swallowed hard and stepped inside. Darkness swallowed him whole. Hung reached out, his hand brushing against damp, icy stone. Drops of water plinked from the ceiling, each echoing like a faltering heartbeat. Suddenly, from deep within the shadows, came a broken whisper. "Help me?" Hung spun around. A young woman in a pale blue dye staggered toward him. Face ghostly white, eyes shimmering with tears. "Lin," he stammered, trembling. She stretched out her hand to him, but behind her, more figures emerged, one by one, faces scorched, clothes in tatters, skin marred with soot. They wept and wailed, eyes hollow, mouths twisted in despair. "Stay with us, stay?" The cries multiplied, bouncing off the tunnel walls, until it was as if hundreds of voices screamed at once. Panic seized Hung. He stumbled back, breath snatched away by the crushing dark. "No, I can't. I still have family. Lan is waiting, don't take me." A freezing hand gripped his wrist. Lin, tears brimming in her eyes, whispered hoarsely, "I don't want you to die, but you must remember, you must tell them, we're still here." A violent gust ripped through the tunnel. A train whistle shrieked, shrill and piercing. Headlights flared, blinding white, slicing the black. The train thundered toward him, wheels screeching like blades. Hung woke with a start. He bolted upright, drenched in sweat, heart racing. The house was dark, only the wind whistling through the shutters. Lan slept undisturbed beside him. Hung buried his face in his hands, gasping for breath. In his ears still echoed Lin's plea. "Tell them, we're still here." Dash dash dash. Morning broke, sunlight spilling over the village fields. Roosters crowed, children ran laughing in new clothes. The scent of wood smoke drifted in the breeze. But inside Hung, the weight of dread pressed down heavy. He took Lan to the riverside meadow. The Queen River flowed gently, golden sunlight rippling on its surface. Lan sat beside him, her voice soft. "Hung, you've been so quiet lately. Is something troubling you? You're hiding something from me, aren't you?" Hung stayed silent. He longed to tell her about the haunted train, about Lin, about the dream, but all he did was sigh, avoiding her eyes. "It's nothing, just tired, still adjusting after all the work." Lan tilted her head, her gaze full of trust. "If you're tired, rest. You have me, and the whole family. Don't worry about anything." Hung forced a smile. He reached to hold her hand, but then a blast of icy wind swept across the grass. The river rippled sharply, reeds bowing low. And in that wind, Hung clearly heard a whisper rising from beneath the water. "Tell them, if not, we can never rest." His eyes widened, his hand shook violently. Lan gasped. "Hung, what is it? Your face, you're pale." Sweat trickled down his temple. He tried to steady himself. But the whisper came again, closer now, hissing right by his ear. "You must tell them, or you'll never know peace." He whipped his head around. Nothing, just spring grass, sunlight, the calm river. Lan clutched his arm, frightened. "You're scaring me, tell me. Is someone following you?" Hung shook, staring at her with red-rimmed eyes. His breath came ragged. "Lan, I don't know if I can keep this secret any longer." His voice broke, but before he could go on, a dog's mournful howl rose from the village. The wind cut sharp and cold. On the river's surface, Light warped and shimmered, revealing, for a moment, the figure of a girl in a blue-out dye beneath the water. Her pleading eyes fixed on him. Hung lurched to his feet, gasping, while Lan clung to his arm in terror. "What did you see? Tell me." Hung said nothing, only the wind answered, carrying whispers that would not fade. The morning of the second day of Tet. The village buzzed with joy, neighbors exchanging greetings, children shouting and chasing each other through the alleys. But Hung felt no joy. He hadn't slept a wink, lying awake all night with that haunting whisper buzzing in his ears. At dawn, he told Lan he was meeting old friends. In truth, Hung borrowed his cousin's old motorbike and rode straight to the Western Railway, toward the tunnel Uncle Kwong had spoken of. The dirt road to the tracks was desolate, flanked only by weeds and bare trees. Hung rode partway, then stopped, setting the bike aside to continue on foot. The air here was different, heavy, cold, suffocating, as if life itself had withdrawn. In the distance, the mountains lay wrapped in thick mist, blotting out the sun. Hung reached a bend, and there he saw it exactly as described, a small roadside shrine. Just a few bricks stacked together, an incense bowl resting on top, sticks burned to ash long ago, torn spirit money scattered, caught in the wind. Hung froze, heart pounding. With trembling hands, he stepped closer. He whispered, "Is this the place where so many died in the crash 10 years ago?" Suddenly the wind howled, whipping the grass. The cold incense sticks flared to life, glowing red, smoke curling thick into the air. Hung staggered back, eyes wide in terror. Through the smoke, faint and wavering, appeared the figure of a girl in a blue-out dye. Her smile was sorrowful, her eyes pleading. "You've come, don't be afraid." The whisper slid through the wind like a voice seeping from stone. Hung's legs buckled, but he forced himself to steady. His lips quivered. "Lin, what do you want me to do? Tell me." The smoke swirled tighter, her form bending forward as if to reach him. The wind shrieked, and the sharp clang of metal filled the air. The sound of a train roaring past, though the tracks lay empty. Amid the echoes came her cry. "You must tell, make them remember, or we will wander forever." Hung clasped his hands in a rush, bowing before the shrine. "I swear, I'll tell them, only please, don't drag me away." At once, the wind stilled, the smoke thinned, silence fell again. Hung stood alone, drenched in sweat, staring at the cold incense bowl. He returned to the village, his thoughts spinning. The scene at the shrine weighed on him like a stone crushing his chest. He knew he needed someone who understood. That afternoon, he heard from neighbors about old Mrs. Liu, nearly 80, living near the tracks, who had witnessed the accident years ago. Hung found her in a mossy-roofed house, walls streaked with damp. A bamboo grove rustled outside, whispering with the wind. He bowed politely. "Good day, grandmother. I'm from the next village. I came to ask you about the train crash that year." Mrs. Liu sat on a bamboo cot, her hair snow-white, her eyes clouded but her voice strong. She studied him, then nodded slowly. Another one asking, "You young people keep bringing it up, the souls must not be at peace." Hung shivered. He swallowed, lowering his voice. "Can you tell me what happened? Was there a girl named Lin?" The old woman sighed, her gaze distant. It was the 29th of Tet, a drizzling day. The passenger train from Hanoi was packed full. When it reached the tunnel, the middle car suddenly jolted, then overturned. Those trapped inside, smoke, fire, screams. It was terrible. More than 20 died, their bodies broken. Her voice quavered, dropping lower. One of them was a young woman, maybe 20. I remember because she wore a blue-out dye. Beautiful, gentle girl. They said her name was Lin. She had been studying far from home, hurrying back for Tet, but she never made it. Cold prickled across Hung's skin. Sweat chilled his back. The girl in his dreams. The girl on the train, it all matched. He stammered. "And, afterward, did people honor them properly?" Mrs. Liu nodded. sorrow shadowing her eyes. They tried, built a small shrine by the tracks. Travelers lit incense, but it was only half-hearted. Over the years, the offerings faded, children even played and trampled there. The dead were left forgotten, without proper prayers. She fixed her cloudy gaze on him, speaking slowly. If you've seen her, then she has something to say. Spirits don't appear for no reason. Hung sat rigid, fists clenched tight. In his ears came again that faint, aching whisper. You see now, you know now? He spun around, heart hammering, but inside the dim house there was only Mrs. Liu, the faint smoke from the kitchen fire, and the evening shadows closing in. Evening settled in, the year's last sky was gray and heavy, clouds sagging low, cold wind rushing through the lanes. Hung walked his motorbike back toward home, his mind spinning with Mrs. Liu's words. Lan came out to greet him, smiling brightly. Where have you been so long? I've been waiting with dinner ready. Hung looked at the woman before him, a surge of love mixed with fear rising in his chest. He wanted to tell her everything, to pour out the burden, but he feared she would panic. He only murmured, I went to see an old friend, someone I haven't seen in a while. Lan tugged at his sleeve playfully. Come on then, eat, everyone's been waiting. The Tet dinner buzzed with laughter and chatter, but Hung felt like a ghost at the table. He ate mechanically, his heart tangled in knots. Night fell, the house grew quiet. Hung tossed for a long time before drifting off. In his dream, he stood on the railway tracks. A dim moon hung overhead, white mist blanketing everything. In the distance, a train whistle wailed, each note dragging heavy and slow. A whisper split the darkness. Hung. He jerked around. Lin stood there, her blue-eyed eye fluttering in the wind, her face deathly pale. Do you remember what I asked of you? Hung trembled, backing away, stammering. I'll tell them, I promised, please don't haunt me anymore. Lin stepped closer, her icy hand pressing to his shoulder. Her eyes brimmed with sadness. It's not haunting, it's pleading. If no one knows, we'll stay trapped forever, in the dark, cold, with no way out. The wind shrieked. Figures appeared behind her, wailing, reaching toward Hung with desperate hands. Help us, help us. Hung screamed, his whole body shaking. I'll tell them, I promise, please spare me. Suddenly, the screech of steel on steel cut through the night. Headlights flared, the crowd vanished, only Lin remained, her lips moving. Thank you, Hung. He bolted upright, gasping, sweat soaking his shirt. Beside him, Lan slept peacefully, her face serene, yet in the still air, a whisper slid around him like a cold mist. Remember the promise? Morning of the third day. Spring sunlight spilled golden over the rooftops. The scent of bon chung and wood smoke drifting through the village. But Hung's heart was heavy. He remembered every word from Lin's dream the night before. Remember the promise. He couldn't wait any longer. He had to speak. He found a few trusted villagers, Uncle Kwong among them, and some older men sipping tea at the communal house. He bowed respectfully. Please, may I speak? It may sound strange, but I have to tell you, or my heart won't be at peace. They looked up, smiling. What's this, Hung? Don't tell scary stories during Tet. Hung drew a deep breath, then slowly recounted it all. The night train from Hanoi, the silent car, the girl in the blue-eyed dye named Lin, the faces without reflections, the relentless dreams, and the shrine by the railway. When he finished, no one spoke at first. Finally, one man chuckled. Well, dreams are dreams. It's Tet. You've probably had too much rice wine. Seeing things. Another sighed. Everyone knows about that crash 10 years ago. But what you're saying, it's chilling. Probably just dreams. Don't keep it inside, you'll only upset Lan. Uncle Kwong frowned slightly, his voice slow and measured. Matters of spirits aren't jokes. But you shouldn't spread such stories either, people will call it lies. Best go there, light some incense, and leave it at that. The men nodded and turned back to their cheerful talk, dismissing Hung's tale. He sat in silence, cold creeping up his spine. He had promised, had tried to tell, yet no one believed. In his head, Lin's whisper echoed. If no one remembers, we will stay trapped forever. Hung's chest tightened. He clenched his fists, eyes reddening. He told himself, if the whole village won't believe, then I'll have to find another way. Night fell, and the village sank into silence after the last scattered fireworks. The moon hung dim behind a veil of clouds, while the wind swept in cold and sharp from the rice fields. Hung slipped his motorbike quietly out of the yard, careful not to wake anyone. He headed straight for the railway. The closer he came, the harder his heart pounded, sweat beading on his brow despite the winter chill. The small roadside shrine appeared in the darkness, swallowed by wild grass. Hung parked the bike, lit an incense stick with trembling hands. He whispered hoarsely, "You want me to tell them, I will. But please, don't drag me away." The moment the words left his lips, a furious gust rose. The incense flared violently, smoke curling into white ribbons, then spreading into human shapes. Before Hung, dozens of faces emerged, some scorched black, some dripping blood, even children with hollow eyes and pallid skin. All of them stretched their hands toward him in unison. Whispers flickered through the air. "Remember us, remember us? Don't let us be lost." Hung collapsed to his knees, his body trembling, forehead nearly to the ground. He screamed, "I'll tell, I swore I would, but what do you want me to do? No one believes me, how can I make them listen?" The crowd of phantoms fell silent. Then Lin stepped from the smoke, her face pale as death, eyes brimming with sorrow, the blue dye drifting around her. "You must make the whole village know, make them light incense, make them remember, or else we'll never leave." Her voice cracked in broken fragments, like wind wailing inside a tunnel. Hung sobbed, tears burning in his eyes. "I'm just a laborer, who would believe me? Who would listen?" Lin stood still, then placed her icy hand on his chest. A chill pierced through him, stealing his breath. "If no one believes, then you must make them believe." At once, the crowd behind her shrieked together. The sound tore open the night, echoing across the mountains. "Remember us, remember us, remember us?" Hung screamed, collapsing onto the cold earth, unconscious before the shrine. The morning of the third day, weak sunlight filtered through the clouds, spilling gold over the dry fields. Hung woke with a dizzy head, sweat soaking his shirt. He found himself lying beside the small shrine by the railway, the incense burning bright, smoke coiling thick into the air. Far off, a few early risers heading to the fields spotted him and rushed over in alarm. "Hung, what are you doing here? Did you fall?" Hung sat up shakily. I'm fine, just tired. That's all." But the way they stared at him was not normal. Old men whispered, some shaking their heads. Good heavens, the boy lying here, right at the old shrine. Was it a dream or something else? Hung stood, trembling, incense stick still in hand. Inside him, a fierce resolve rose. He had to do something. To make the whole village know. To keep Lin and the others from being forgotten. He murmured under his breath. "No more, they must remember. I have to make the village see, or Lin and the others will stay trapped forever." He went straight back to the village. To the communal house. Hung told a group of elders everything, his dreams, the shrine, Lin and the souls of those lost long ago. Some still doubted, but Hung didn't stop. He lit incense, showed them the shrine by the railway, even led the village children there. Gradually, the villagers began to believe. One by one, incense sticks were lit, prayers murmured, the air grew solemn, chilled yet strangely calm, as if a quiet release spread through the fields. Hung stood by the shrine, tears blurring his vision. He spoke softly to the incense smoke. "I promise, I won't forget. I'll tell everyone, you will be at peace." In the breeze, he felt a soft wisp brush his shoulder. Lin's faint whisper drifting by. "Thank you, Hung." For the first time in days, Hung felt lightness, a fragile peace settling in his heart. Dash dash dash. After Tet, the village returned to its usual rhythm. Laughter, motorbike engines, chatter in the lanes, but Hung still felt uneasy. One morning, as he wheeled his bike out to the fields, he caught sight of a blue dye flickering near the bamboo grove. His heart thudded, sweat prickling cold. He whispered, "Lin, is that you?" The figure moved, leading him farther away, toward the tunnel where the crash had happened. The air there was eerily still, only the wind hissing through the stones. As Hung neared the tunnel's mouth, a gust of icy wind swept past. A whisper rose, echoing all around. This is where the truth was hidden. The girl in blue appeared, eyes full of sorrow. "You've helped us, but there's one more thing you must see, you must know." Hung froze, his voice shaking. "What else? What do you want?" "I've told the whole village." Lin pointed toward the tunnel. "Look, this place is the end, where it all began, where the truth about the accident, about us, will be revealed." He drew a deep breath and stepped inside. Darkness pressed in, broken only by pale light seeping from the cracks. The smell of incense clung to the cold stone. All around him, the whispers of the dead rose. "Look, remember, never forget." Hung felt as though he had slipped into another time, seeing the train tilt and crash, the trapped passengers, the echoing screams, everything exactly as Mrs. Liu had described. He trembled, whispering to himself, This is the truth. I must tell it all, so no one forgets." Lin stood beside him, her breath icy as it brushed his shoulder. "You won't be alone, I'm here, guiding you." Hung's footsteps echoed as he stepped deeper into the tunnel, the space closing in around him. The darkness thickened, broken only by faint, ghostly light leaking through cracks in the stone, glimmering across the damp ground. Whispers filled the air, circling from every direction. "Look, remember, never forget." Hung froze as the vision unfolded before his eyes. Vivid and sharp, as if a reel of film was playing in another world. The train swayed violently, iron doors rattling, passengers screaming in panic. Lin appeared beside him, her eyes shimmering with sorrow. "You see now, you must see it all, so you'll remember?" Hung staggered back, eyes wide, trembling. My God, they were trapped, in an instant, no way to escape? For a fleeting moment, he saw Lin in her blue dye standing in the middle of the carriage. Hand outstretched as if calling for others to follow. But smoke and fire poured in, the carriage shook violently, and people around her shrieked. Some crushed, some bleeding. The screams reverberated through the tunnel, every jolt hammering straight into Hung's chest. He stammered, No, Lin, why did it happen like this?" Lin's voice came soft, almost breaking. "Don't be afraid, I didn't want to die. I just want them to remember us, so the living will know." Memories poured into Hung's mind, faces smiling, hands clasped, then flames, incense smoke, the acrid scent of burning metal. It all fused into the tunnel's cold, suffocating air. Hung collapsed onto the damp floor, clutching his head. Pale hands of the dead reached out, not to seize him, but as if pleading. "You must tell, you must light incense, never forget." Tears streamed down his face. His voice cracked as he sobbed. "I understand, I'll do it, I'll tell everything, so no one will forget. Lin, and the others." The smoke thinned, the dim light faded, and silence returned. Only Hung remained in the tunnel, heart pounding, eyes wet with grief. Dash dash dash. Night fell. Hung emerged from the tunnel clutching a freshly lit incense stick, his breath still ragged. The moon glowed faint behind clouds, the chill wind swirling the smoke around him like a veil. He whispered to himself, "I must give Lin and the others peace. I can't let them wander forever." Back in the village, Hung gathered elders and younger men he trusted. Together, they built a proper altar by the tracks. They brought incense, candles, joss paper, fruits, and solemn prayers. When all was ready, Hung stepped forward, palms pressed together, his voice trembling. "To all of you, to Lin, I've told the truth, I've made them remember, please. Rest in peace now." A cold breeze stirred. The incense smoke curled upward. And within the haze, Hung glimpsed Lin one final time, her face gentle, her sad smile faint, eyes glistening with gratitude. "Thank you, Hung," her whisper drifted, light and free. The spirits faded into the mist, their presence dissolving into the quiet of the night. Hung exhaled, his chest unburdened at last. He sat by the altar, gazing at the space where Lin had stood, murmuring, "Finally, you can rest?" The spring wind carried the hum of crickets, the rustle of leaves, the cold and whispers were gone. Only Hung remained, surrounded by peace. From a distance, Lan approached. Having witnessed everything, she gently held his hand. "Hung, why is it so calm now?" He smiled faintly, eyes still on the altar. "Lan, they found peace at last. And so have we can keep living." The night settled into silence. Yet Hung knew the memory of the train, of Lin, of the restless souls, would always live within him, an unshakable part of his life. Both haunting and precious. Hung had returned to Hanoi, the city buzzing with traffic horns, street vendors calling out, and crowds weaving through the chaos. Yet his heart was heavy. The memories of those days in his village, of Lin and the restless souls, haunted him with every breath. At the construction site, the clamor of machinery, the pounding of hammers, the laughter of workers, none of it eased him. Even under the blinding noon sun, the cold clung to him like a shadow. Walking down a deserted stretch near the old containers, Hung froze. For a brief second, he saw it, a figure in a flowing blue dye drifting past. His pulse spiked. "Lin, is that really you?" The vision vanished, but the chill lingered on his shoulders. He muttered under his breath, trembling, "No, it can't be. You were supposed to rest. Why are you still here?" All morning, the signs grew stranger. Whispers laced into the wind. Fleeting figures reflected in glass. The hollow stares of strangers that seemed to pierce through him but see nothing else. A coworker tapped him on the shoulder. "Hung, you look pale. Man, you sick?" Hung shook his head, forcing a faint smile. "No, just tired, that's all." But inside, he knew, Lin was still with him. Not only as memory, but a presence, brushing against the edges of his life. That evening, passing Hanoi Station, he watched a train roll by. The image of that ghostly night train surged in his mind, its empty carriages, its silent passengers. He whispered to himself, "I have to keep my promise. I must tell their story, so they'll be remembered, so I won't forget." A shiver ran through him, fretting the ordinary city air with dread. Yet alongside the fear grew his resolve. As dusk settled, the worksite emptied out. Hung was packing up when Nam, a quiet but perceptive coworker, approached. His eyes lingered on Hung, hesitant, as though carrying a secret. Finally, Nam spoke in a low voice. "Hung, this morning, I thought I saw something. A woman, in a blue dye, standing by the containers, looking at you." Hung's face drained of color. "Lin, you saw her too? You're sure?" Nam nodded, his voice trembling. "Yeah, I wouldn't joke about this. It felt like she was trying to tell you something." Hung's chest tightened, his eyes welled with tears as he whispered, "Someone else finally believes. She still needs me, but what can I do? How do I help her?" Nam glanced around, then leaned in, serious. "I believe you, Hung. If she's still appearing, it means she's not at peace. We need to help. Maybe a ritual, maybe bringing this to the right people. But you can't do it alone, I'll stand with you." Hung gripped Nam's hand, his voice shaking. "Thank you. If it weren't for you, I don't know if I could face this anymore." Together, they sketched a plan to raise a proper altar at Hanoi Station, to light incense, to tell elders, workers, even travelers what had happened, to make sure Lin and the others were remembered. That night, carrying incense and offerings, they set off for the station. The city still bustled, but to Hung, time slowed. In the distance, he glimpsed Lin's silhouette, gentle, sorrowful, leading him forward. He clenched his fists, whispering to himself, "This time, I'll finish it. I won't let her, or any of them, be lost again." That night, Hanoi Station blazed with lights, crowded with travelers, the sound of footsteps echoing, train whistles shrieking across the platforms. Hung and Nam carried a small altar, incense, candles, joss paper, and fruit, heading toward a quieter corner of the station. Hung's hands shook as he held a stick of incense. "Lin, I'm here. This time, I'll make sure people remember you." A flicker of blue oud dye appeared among the crowd, a cold draft brushing Hung's shoulder. Lin's whisper followed. "Thank you, for coming, for helping me." Nam stood beside him, eyes wide. "My God, I've never seen anything like this. A spirit, it's real." Hung lit the incense, placing the offerings with trembling but resolute hands. His voice cracked with emotion. "Please, remember the souls who were lost, remember Lin, and let them rest in peace." The smoke curled upward, glowing faintly, and Lin's form edged closer. She stood before the altar, sorrowful eyes softened by a fleeting, gentle smile. The whispers of other spirits rippled through the air. "Thank you, remember us, remember us?" Hung closed his eyes, repeating his prayers, his chest swelling with grief and release. Nam remained silent, bowing his head now and then, both men caught in the sacred stillness that somehow blanketed the busy station. Suddenly, a strong gust swept through. The smoke spiraled upward, enveloping Hung, and Lin's presence wrapped around him as if passing on her final message. Her voice trembled in the wind. "You did it right, we can rest now, and so can you." Hung opened his eyes. The station bustled on, but inside him, silence, profound, serene. The smoke drifted away, and Lin's form slowly faded into a pale mist, leaving behind only the memory of her warm smile. He exhaled, shoulders light at last. Nam looked at him, nodding firmly. "It's done, truly done." Tears rolled down Hung's face as he smiled. "Finally, they're at peace. Lin, and all the others. I kept my promise." The incense smoke dispersed into the night air, swallowed by the station's noise. But inside Hung, the haunting had softened into something else. A memory that was both terrifying and beautiful. A burden he could now carry with reverence. Spring passed. Warm sunlight stretched across the fields of Queen Lu. Hung returned home after months of labor in Hanoi. The village smelled of cut grass, lingering traces of boiled bon chung, and the familiar crow of roosters. Lan greeted him at the gate with a bright smile. "You're home, Hung. Come in, dinner's waiting." Hung bowed his head slightly, smiling with relief. "Yes, I'm home, truly home." As his feet traced the dirt path through the village, memories of Lin surfaced, the eyes that pleaded, the icy hand on his shoulder, the ghostly nights on the train. He paused by the small altar beside the tracks. No figures, no smoke, only silence, yet the chill of that place lingered. Folding his hands, he whispered, "I kept my word, you're at peace now? Lin, you found rest." Lan glanced at him curiously. "Why so quiet? Remembering the new year?" Hung smiled faintly, his voice warm. "No, just thinking of old things. That's all." The wind stirred the grass. The afternoon light flickered on the thatched roofs. For an instant, Hung felt as though Lin stood somewhere close, quietly watching, smiling. He thought to himself, "Life goes on, but that memory will always stay with me." As dusk fell across the fields, Hung carried both calm and unease in his heart. He knew Lin had finally rested, but the memory of that haunted train, and the fragile line between life and death, would remain with him forever. A reminder of the living's duty to the dead. On the afternoon of the 7th day of the Lunar New Year, Hung led a group of children out to the fields near the old station. The grass was green, the sunlight gentle, yet inside him there lingered an unusual silence. The children sat around him, wide-eyed, whispering, "Uncle Hung, why do you keep looking like something scary is there?" Hung smiled softly, his voice deep and steady. Kids, I'm telling you this story so you'll remember about the night train. About Lin. And those who lost their lives, so that no one will ever forget them. He began from the start, the crowded train, the silent carriage, Lin's gaze, the passengers without reflections in the windows, the horror inside the tunnel, and even the memorial ritual he and Nam had performed. The children grew quiet, sometimes shivering, sometimes their eyes glowing with wonder. Uncle, that's really scary? Did Lin really help you? Hung nodded, his voice trembling but firm. Yes, she did. Lin only wanted people to remember, to make sure no one forgets that they once lived. Once laughed. A breeze swept across the field. The grass swayed, and for a fleeting moment Hung saw the faint figure of a woman in a blue dye standing there, smiling at him. The children sighed, murmuring under their breath, "We'll remember, we won't forget." Hung felt a weight lift from his chest. The haunting no longer clung to him as before. What remained was a chilling memory mixed with warmth, as though he had passed on a lesson about life, death, and the responsibility of the living toward the past. He lifted his eyes to the dusky sky, his voice calm and resolute. "Remember this. Tell it again, so no one forgets Lin and those souls from that train." Darkness gradually descended, but the air no longer felt cold. Only the fading glow of the sun, the soft breeze, and the children's gentle laughter lingered, blending with a memory that was eerie yet strangely beautiful. One summer noon, Hung returned home. Lan had prepared a simple meal, yet full of the flavors of the countryside. The scent of vegetable soup, braised fish, and freshly steamed rice made Hung feel an unusual lightness in his heart. Lan smiled. "Hung, you're back, come eat. You look a bit tired." Hung bowed his head, his voice calm and warm. "Yes, just tired after the trip back home, but everything is settled now." He stepped out to the yard, gazing toward the old railway. The small altar still stood there, silent among the green grass. No shadow in the blue dye appeared anymore. But in his heart, Lin's image remained, her gentle smile, as if reminding him of all that had passed. Hung whispered to himself, "Life goes on, but that memory will always stay with me, reminding me of the fragility between life and death, and of the living's responsibility toward the past." He sat on the bamboo chair, clasped his hands together, and sighed. "Lin, all of you have finally found peace. I will remember, I will not forget." The wind swept in from the fields. Grass swayed, sunlight filtered through the leaves. In that moment, Hung felt a strange serenity. The chill and terror of those nights had faded, leaving only deep, bittersweet memories. Lan stood beside him, holding his hand, and asked softly, "What are you thinking about?" Hung smiled, his eyes still on the altar by the tracks. "I'm thinking about everything that happened, about Lin and the others on that night train, about life. And the memories we can never erase." As evening descended, the sounds of chickens, insects, and the whispering wind blended together. Hung knew those haunting memories would never vanish. But now they had become a beautiful part of his life, both chilling and precious, a reminder to live sincerely and to cherish everything around him. He smiled one last time, exhaled deeply, his gaze peaceful. Life would go on, but the story of the train without reflections, of Lin, and of those restless souls would forever remain in Hung's mind, as an inseparable part of his being. The story ends here. Thank you for listening until the very end. If you enjoyed it, please give us a like and subscribe to the channel. Your support is a great motivation for us to continue writing more thrilling ghost stories for you. If you have any questions or notice any mistakes in the story, please leave a comment below. Thank you for watching, and *bong toi trong dem ***. We'll see you again in the next story. Disclaimer: the content in this video is fictional ghost storytelling, created purely for entertainment purposes, to bring a chilling experience to the audience. We do not promote superstition, nor do we encourage any dangerous actions mentioned in the story. Any resemblance to actual people, places, or events is purely coincidental. Thank you sincerely for accompanying our channel. Bong Toi Trong Dem.